Ahoy there mateys, and welcome back to another video here in Windrose. And today we're starting here in the port, and as you can see I've built a brand new addition here, namely a dry docks, where we're working on building a brand new ship, which as you can see definitely makes for a very nice decorative addition to your own pirate town or pirate base. And I guess you could build the ship in as an advanced or non-advanced stage as you wish. I kind of did a skeleton at the bottom with the beams showing, you know, the shape of the ship, and then I did a little bit work on the deck itself just to make sure that it actually pops out a little bit out of the dry dock so that we can see it from the outside as we walk around the rest of the town. And I tied it in to the rest of my docks around it. So yeah, first of course I'll do a little tour of the place and show you the dry docks in action before I show you how I built this, so you can follow along and take some inspiration for your own base or just build it exactly as I did. As always, of course, if you enjoy seeing these types of videos and you want to continue to see more of them, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds you'd really like to see down in the comments below. So let's get out here on the docks, and first of all, this little corner that I now added really adds a lot of character to my docks. It's like the perfect little end that I needed here, so I decorated this side of the docks, which is right next to my bridge, where we can see the tavern and the whole town, etc. Over on the other side I've got my normal ships here as well, of course, and we can see a little bit of, you know, work areas here, a lot of the resources, the logs, etc. And then over here we have the actual way up to the dock, so it's right next to the tailor that I built before. We can get up to the layer. I raised it up just so that I would have had enough height, and you can see the skeleton of a ship here. Some of the sides already have been filled in. We have works areas here utilizing the sawhorse as nice decorations. Of course, we have all of these little cranes and a bunch of storage around just to make it look like there's actually being a lot of work done. Then we have the actual skeleton of the ship. Some sides have been filled in, but there's also a shape underneath it so that it looks like the ship is being held up, and eventually it's able to kind of glide out of there into the water itself. It's like a half-built one, but I'm quite happy with the way it turned out. Of course, you could build longer versions of this if you maybe want to go for like bigger ships, because it is still a relatively smaller sized ship here, but I feel like it is still a pretty nice addition. You can see I worked a little bit here on the deck here to make a captain quarters there, as well as this raised up area, which is really a nice spot to take a look out over the rest of the town that we've been working on. And we already have the masts in place. Maybe they need to be higher, but you know, it's a ship in process. It's being built, so it doesn't matter if it's not perfect yet, and it definitely makes for a very nice addition. I actually managed to get the wharf in here by sinking it down slightly, and it's technically already touching the water because I built this all the way out into the water, and it definitely makes for an amazing addition to this build. Like, it's such a nice little piece of decor and fits right at home here, of course, and it actually makes a lot of sense because now I can use my dry dock as an actual wharf to repair, build my ships, etc. So you can see we got a lot of clutter around here to really make sure that we bring this place to life. We've got some of the normal workstations. We also, of course, have the ship right here so that we can do basically all the ship related things right here at the base. And then yeah, we just have a lovely little bit of detailing with a nice little roof at the back of the dry docks, just so that we can make a nice little working area. And even though it's a relatively simple build, except for the ship, I guess the ship is the most complicated part about this, I really like the way that this is a really nice addition to the base. It feels very much more like a proper pirate port now that we have the ability to make our own ships here. So yeah, definitely has been quite a fun addition, and I mean, I've been wanting to do some pirate ship building since, well, for quite a while now. I actually want to do a few shipwrecks over on the little cliff behind there. So this was good practice building a half-built ship already to get the mood going. But yeah, if we look back at this whole little dry dock, I quite like the look of this. Having the half-built ship in there really feels appropriate for the docks. Like if we walk around now, it just feels like it makes a lot of sense. It's a really nice addition, just a really cool piece, and it actually, for me personally, for my town, it's like the perfect little end there, because I didn't really know how to end the town on that side, but now this feels like a really nice closed off area with the raised up stone foundations there. That's kind of the end point, I think, for my town on that side. And now I can start to focus more on this side, where I'll have more of the actual town. I'll have the lighthouse up on the rock, and eventually I do plan on building like a little fort or castle up on the very top of the cliffs and the rocks that I have over here. But yeah, this new dry docks definitely is an amazing looking addition. I'm very happy with it, and I really do hope that you like it as well. I think it's a great little thing to add to your base. Really thanks to everyone that keeps commenting awesome suggestions, because this was picked from the suggestions. I mean, I thought about doing it, but then I saw it and I instantly got inspired to do one and add it, and it's been a very nice little corner for my pirate towns. That's my latest additions, and now let's dive into how to build this one for yourself. Okay, so today the aim is to build a dry dock where we can build a well, a ship under construction. So I've got 18 of these foundations, and in my case I've raised them up quite a bit, so like you can get them pretty high. Let me go to the other side so you can see them from the ground. So yeah, you can raise them up pretty high. I would go about this high just because of the slope of the landscape, of course. But yeah, we want to have it a little bit raised up, because then once we have a ship half built, I think that's going to be easier to get like access onto it. And this is 18 long, so that's the size that I've used so far. I think I'm going to make this about 3 wide. But before I do that, I want to make a way up to the top so I can actually, well, get on top of these foundations. And to build a way onto here, I think I'm going to do it roughly around here. And then we can just have some nice stairs, I think, coming down from that, so that we can easily get on top of these new foundations. I think that's going to be pretty nice. So in my case, it's just shy of the corner. Of course, it really depends on what area you're working with, but we're trying to blend it into the rest of the little harbor that we've been making here, and we're just going to make this look a little bit nicer with these roped railings along the sides. All right, so that is a pretty nice way, I think, to get up to this platform. Then I think we're going to make this platform 3 wide to begin with. So we're just going to start filling this in a little bit. And this is going to be like one side of the dry dock. So the idea is building a dry dock like in between these things. And then, of course, have like a half-built ship in there, which I think is going to be a really fun and a really nice addition to our little harbor here. It's definitely going to make it feel more like a proper harbor, you know. So I think it's going to be a cool feature to add to your base. There we go. So this is a pretty sturdy piece that we have here. Then I think before I decide how long this is going to be before we build the other side, I think we have to build the inside. I think it makes sense for the back of this build also being 3 wide, just so that we kind of keep this the same all the way through. Then I need to kind of figure out how big this is going to be. So for example, let's say go quite as high. So maybe if we go kind of around the middle end here. So we just have those 3 beams. And then 3 coming back up over here on this side. That feels like a pretty decent size, right? Like, that perhaps could work. So let's see. So from the corner, that's now 4, 5, I think it's 6. And then if we bring this across, this should line up on both sides. That feels like a decent shape, a decent size of this building. So let's make sure that we make this all 3 wide. Can I still get onto here? Maybe if I build some in between steps, if I turn on off snapping, I can get myself back up here. So yeah, right now from the corner we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's going to be a bit more, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then of course it's going to be about 12 before we hit the other side. Let's make sure to get back onto top of here. We can fill this back bit in all the way, and then of course we can continue to build the side over here. So yeah, I guess for the dry dock, we really just want to make sure that we continue this all the way across. So maybe if I go over here, do I reach that still? I don't quite reach all the way there, so there we go. Then we just want to build it out the same distance as the other side, of course, just so that we have a decent shape to work with. So that should be the right size. Then I'll build this across and we can just kind of start filling this in all the way. Yeah, that should be fine. There we go. And for this top layer, I think it's mostly going to be for having like a little work area and some, you know, wood and stuff like that. So it looks like all the resources needed would be available here. I think for the inside, of course, we're going to need a lot of these beams that we've just created. I think the easiest way is probably going to be to try and connect these in a certain way, you know, to make it more believable that this is a thing that supports a ship that's being built. So maybe something like this. So if I just build this outward, I think that will definitely help us along. And the question is also, how far does this go before you turn it into something more of a slope? Because of course at some point the ship's going to have to kind of glide out of here, right? So we'll see how far it goes. For now we'll keep that. I guess we want to have this bottom line too, although that's kind of touching the ground for a lot of this. There we go. We do get a decent shape if we do this. And I think it's not going to be, well, except the ship shape, I guess that's going to be the most complicated thing. But the rest of it, I think it's going to be relatively simple. But I hope and I think it will add quite a lot. So yeah, we have about 4 of them left over here. So it's really all about how many gaps do we want between these. Do we want to have like 2? Or do we want to have like 4? Maybe we start with like gaps of 4. Just to kind of see what that looks like. So this would be a little bit longer in that case. There we go. I think, I mean, it feels like a decent spacing of these. That feels fairly good and normal. So I guess we can just kind of follow that same spacing on this side, which should give us the entire thing. We just need to fill in these last remaining ones. There we go. And I guess down here we can have a few of these. They won't be visible everywhere. So yeah, I kind of think that is probably it. And then here at the end, I guess what we want to do is kind of just build these out into the water. Oh, kind of have to make sure that I don't start swimming. But yeah, I think that might be the shape. We can do one more over here. I mean, that feels pretty good to me. That feels like a pretty logical shape of like, okay, the ship could be put into the water from there. I think that works. I think that works quite well. And then I guess for the well, for the actual boat, I don't know how I want to build that. Do I want to just have these kind of on top of the existing structure? So let's say that's the starting shape. The starting shape of the ship, of course. I think it's going to be easier if I do one side first. I think this would make for a pretty decent ship shape. I don't know. I'm freestyling this because I'm well, probably by the time you're seeing this, I'm on a holiday. So I just kind of prepping a lot of builds at the same time. So we're just freestyling all of these builds. That's not great because that's not snapping to the piece that I wanted to snap to, which it's not exactly making this easier. Maybe if I remove the other snap points, it will let me snap. There we go. So yeah, that would be the whole shape of the ship, I think. Now, of course, we just want to make sure that we connect these things back in. There we go. So yeah, that feels like a pretty appropriate shape for the ship. Of course, we're going to have to build, well, more than just those shapes. So I think if we kind of start bringing this back a little bit, maybe up to about there before we kind of turn it around at the back end, of course. And then we can do the same thing over here. Just leave a little bit of space to kind of curve out the rest of it. I think I'll probably want to do that for this layer at the same time. Can do it there as well. So yeah, now we're just kind of freeballing a whole ship, I guess, is what we're trying to achieve. And it's not going to be like a fully built ship. I definitely want it to look like a skeleton of a ship. So it's mostly going to be built out of beams, I think. And I'm going to have some shipwrecks somewhere in the base where we might have, well, not necessarily more complete, but like more filled in parts. And I guess we could have some parts of the ship that already are filled in. Just not everything, obviously, because we want it to be clear that is a thing under construction. There we go. We have a few of those. And then on this side too. Awesome. And then I guess it's kind of sinking in the sand here, but we'll just ignore that because it didn't flatten out the area. I didn't really think we needed to do that. There we go. So yeah, that's kind of the ship hull shape for now. Okay, we need to make sure that this kind of circle shape is going to end up the same on both sides. So going to go in by 1 tick here, by 2, and then we're doing the same thing over here. So both of those should be the same angle now. And then I think we're gonna go in a little bit further. Okay, so like that should still be correct, I think. And then maybe we can just kind of go across. That feels like a pretty decent shape for this build. I guess that would mean that from there we would have the steep one coming in. We could have it here too, and another one there. There we go. Yeah, that feels pretty reasonable. See, building a ship, how hard can it really be? And then it just kind of meets up here in the middle like this. There we go. I think this actually looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, let me get back on top. Okay, getting back on top, I think first of all here at the back we can just fill those in, and then we can kind of follow the shape of the ship like that. And then finally we can just have these going across, connecting the top up, connecting those, and connecting these. Yeah, there we go. I feel like we've done a pretty good job of getting a nice shape like a ship here. It feels appropriate. I guess it could have been back a little bit more, but that's fine. Might want to have some kind of nice front to the ship at the same time, of course. But it definitely feels right. Okay, I think we probably want to start from down here. We want to raise up with a shallow one before we go into the normal one. Then, of course, we would have a steep one, I think. And then maybe afterwards we'll have 2 normal ones. Kind of to... Would we then have normal ones, or do we just have another steep one? Because I feel like the front of the ship needs to be quite steep going up. Okay, and then here on the top, I guess we want to get to there. So we're going to go in by just 1. I'm going to go out by 4. Then I'm going to go in by 1 more. And I guess if I keep that going, I will get to that point. So maybe instead we go out by 5 here. We go out by 3. Maybe 4. And then we have 1 going into this side. I feel like that could be a decent shape for a boat, for a ship under construction. Okay, so this is a straight line. We go in by 1. Then we add, what was it, like 5? We go in by another 1. We have like 4 of them. And then finally a little point like that, which I feel is pretty reasonable. Like, that feels very much like a ship. And actually, I just realized that this bottom wasn't actually connected to the ship just yet. So now that we have this shape, we basically want to replicate what we did. So we want to have 2 of them come down, then 1 of these, then a shallow one, and that should meet up with the actual shape here for the ship itself, which of course is separate from the supports of everything. So we're just gonna build like the bottom line of the ship, but that makes for a pretty nice shape here. And then I guess what we really want to do is, I mean, I guess you want to probably shape up the rest of the building, or the rest of the... Probably want to shape up the rest of the ship a little bit as well. So probably that corner is somewhere where we would want to snap to, which I guess would be something like that. There we go. Just following the shape. Oh, this is... It's not quite lining up, but I think if I just continue that one instead of going to the shallow, I feel like that fits. There we go. Because of course it's a slightly different shape than the rest of the ship, but I feel like that works. And then we can kind of connect this up. I think. Potentially. Something like that. It doesn't quite add up, of course. Do I need... Maybe I don't need anything else for those other layers, because it's going to get a lot more complicated. So we just want to connect those layers, and then the front... Because it's kind of a different part of the ship anyway. So I think that makes sense. Okay, and then I think what I want to do here on the side is have a few places where I guess it kind of looks like you could get up to this ship. So I'm actually going to turn off snapping. And I'm going to have a few of these little ramps. And I'm going to actually turn this one around a little bit so that it looks like they... are moved into place wherever they need to be able to access the ship build in progress. And I guess we could have some railings for them. I feel like that does make sense. There we go. So yeah, just a few places where you can get onto the ship. I think we might fill in some things for the ship, because now it's very bare bones. I think I want to have a somewhat of a deck. That's going to be easier, and then we definitely want to create some kind of workplace up here, of course. And here on the staircase, I think I want to add a few extra details by adding a few of these little pillars in. There we go. Feels a little bit more appropriate. Okay, so I think we also want to start thinking about the rest of the area. So here on the corner, I'm going to add a nice pillar going all the way down. I guess I also want that on this corner, although for me that's not really too visible. Here we can definitely add it in. And then the same thing right over here. So I want to make sure that I get that going all the way. And then I think maybe every like 4. So there's a gap of 4 there. I think we'll do the same pattern over here just to kind of make them meet up in equal distances. So we'll have another one over here. How many is this? This is 6. So maybe what we do instead is have one every 2, because then we don't have to think about it. Then it should just all kind of work out for the best, I think. There we go. Yeah, I mean, and that looks already quite nice instantly if we do that around the whole site there. And it means that we can also do that, I think, here around the back, just to kind of give this a little bit more detail and interest, because otherwise it's just a lot of stone wall, which isn't necessarily the most interesting to look at. There we go. So I can get back on top here. You know, you might want to build another like staircase on the other side. I might still do that. I don't know, because it's kind of the border of my town, I suppose. So I don't know if I want more there. But I guess it also means that we can continue those supports here on this side, which is a little bit more tricky with these stairs, but should manage to get those in. And that will definitely look a lot nicer once we have all of those details. And then I guess here at the end just means that the other corner we definitely want to have. And then of course on this corner we're going to do the same thing, and I just need to make sure that we build that pillar all the way down. I'm pretty sure that goes far enough. I think here on the inside, I mean, I might still want to have a few of these pillars go all the way down, because I think it could look quite nice. I don't know if we want to do the same kind of interval, because I guess this already starts on a different interval because it was 3 wide here at the end. So maybe we start with these and then we leave a gap of 3 so that it lines back up with the outside. There we go. I feel like that is a pretty good call there. And then we can just add these in as some additional details again. And then I guess we just want to line them up. For now, I'm just going to place down these. And then I'm going to have to go down again to make all those pillars go across. I guess over here, probably just one in the middle on that side, to be honest. And then here, of course, we can keep following the same pattern all the way along. I think that makes for a pretty nice area. And then what we probably want to do is, of course, build a few like little workshop areas. And especially here around the back, I think it makes sense to kind of build this up maybe into a little workshop. So for example, bring up these pillars a little bit more. And then we could have some roofs, of course, going over the top. I guess we could have it all the way across from one side to the other here if we really wanted to. Just to kind of fill up the back part of this building. Because, I mean, that does give us a pretty decent area to work with. And it wouldn't interfere with anything. Because you might want to have some cranes and stuff around the sides where the ship's being built. So yeah, we could have a nice little overhang over here. Bring up these pillars to meet up with the shape of the building. And I think here at the end we probably want to have one of these end pieces here. Not just those, but we probably also want to have these little beams as the end pieces for the roof, just to make it all look a little bit nicer. And of course, yeah, we want to make sure that we do this on both sides. So we want to add one over here. Add in these sides all the way down, just so that the end of the roof looks a lot nicer. And then if we want to, we can even have this little ridge, of course, because that will just add some additional details to the top of the roof. Oh, that's a bit too far. We don't want it to stick out there. But yeah, at least it will add some nice details along the top of the roof. And I guess that means along the back here, we can actually probably raise up these pillars just a little bit more. So it looks like they're all supporting the building itself. And if we want to add in some more details, I guess what would be quite nice is having these little beams all the way around the side, and then also the other ones, of course, just to make sure that this all looks properly supported. And again, just adds a bit of character to the place. And if we really wanted to go all out, I guess we would also add in these supports on the inside, just to, well, kind of complete the look. I think we can do the same beams across the inside of these, rotate these around, add in the other side like that. And I think for this builder part, it probably makes sense to use some kind of wall. You could use a lot of these. This might be quite nice, but I also like these quite a bit. And I think we can kind of reinforce at least the bit where we have the roof with some of these small walls. Because this is going to be kind of like the workshop area, right? You could even have some of the ship-related things here. So, well, the wharf itself probably isn't actually going to fit. I'm not sure. Yeah, coastline. I can't place it there. I guess we could probably, if you want to, you could snap it in here. And if you raise it down, you can make it look pretty nice, actually. So we can probably add that in here somewhere, just as a little bit of decorations. That's actually quite a clever thing to do. But of course, we also have the workshop. Apparently, I'm out of copper, but yeah, we could definitely add that in here somewhere as a little bit of decorations. And in general, I think if I just add the normal workshop, that definitely helps, of course, because that feels like it is, you know, suited for this kind of location. I need more copper because I definitely want to have a few of these logs around, because we want to make this look like it's a work site, right? Like it needs to look like you are building this ship. So I definitely think we want to have a few of those around. So I'm going to have to go get some copper. And then, of course, we could add a bunch of little details and barrels, etc. around. I think here around the outside, it actually might make a lot of sense to have this little rope fence going all the way. Just so that it looks a little bit more like it's safe to go around here. Over here, not, because that's probably what you would use to get onto the ship. Here along the back here, might actually want to place them down again. And of course, along this side, we can have them go all the way to... I really like that we managed to get the wharf in there. That will depend, I think, on how close you get to the water. But realistically, you want to make sure that you build the dry docks very close to where you go into the water anyway. And then I guess I probably want to start filling in at least a part of the deck, because I think I want to add in a little bit more than just the rough outline. So I think if we add in the deck, we're gonna have to kind of shape up the front, of course. There we go. I think if we take out the small piece, we can probably make it work. There we go. Kind of fill that all in. And I think here in the middle, we just kind of want to keep it going as long as we can. Okay, well, that's... There we go. That feels like a pretty nice deck here. And then here along the back, we probably just want to kind of follow the shape. There we go. Awesome. So yeah, that's a whole layer of the deck filled in so that we can shape up a bit more here. Want to fill in those corners. Fill in these. Yeah, that feels about right. Actually, probably something like this. There we go. I mean, that feels about, just looking at those ships there, feels about right. There we go. I mean, that looks pretty accurate to me. And then I guess what you would really have is like those things coming back in. But I guess if it's still a ship being built, probably wouldn't actually be any rigging yet. But that gives a little bit of shape to the ship at least. Helps a little bit with the feeling of it being a proper ship. I guess here along the sides you would have these walls. I'm guessing we just kind of follow these. There we go. I think that looks pretty decent to me. And again, I don't really want to build the whole ship, just some parts of it to kind of get the feeling that this could be an actual ship. There we go. Just filling in the sides a little bit to give the impression of a ship. There we go. All right, I think that looks like the front of the ship for sure. I might want to raise up the back a little bit, and I guess what we could also do is for some parts of this maybe have like a little bit of these sides already filled in. Again, not all the things. Maybe we can have some like gaps on purpose still, because it has to look like they're still building the thing. So we'll just have some parts already kind of filled in, and then other parts still obviously open and empty. I think the front is probably gonna just stay open just to make it simpler on ourselves. But there we go. That already helps, you know, making it feel like there's being work done on the ship. I think here for the back, this is probably where the captain quarters would be, right? So probably wanna build up this structure at least a little bit. There we go. Just like that. I mean, this is probably not even the shape that it needs to be, but it's a start. And we definitely... No, I don't think we would have a window at the very back, because that's probably where the sign would be with the name of the ship. Could have some windows in here. There we go. So yeah, if I just have windows like this, I don't know how well that's gonna work, but I mean, I think it looks pretty good. Right? Feels like this could be the captain quarters. I do think I'm gonna just get rid of those a little bit. Because I want to have this a bit smaller, I think. I think that's about how big we want it before the staircase starts. So yeah, let's fill in those sides like this. And then I guess there would be a floor there. And then we could have some stairs coming down from them. That might be a bit too much. That's going to take a little bit too much space from the ship. So I'm guessing that these will be more appropriate. There we go. Just like that. Same over here. Yeah, and I guess this will give us a pretty decent space up there for where we would sail our ship. Awesome. And fill in the gaps. Perfect, look, just like this. Awesome. Okay, yeah, and then we probably want to raise those up again. Same over here. And then we can, of course, create a nice little entrance to the captain quarters. A nice little door. Awesome. And then I guess we would build up the rest of this layer. Also, oh, awesome. There we go. We can do the same over here. Okay, we can build in these railings. We're going a bit crazy with the shipbuilding, but I think it's going to be a fun detail to have in our town. It's going to definitely be a really nice statement piece. So yeah, if we just fill in the rest of this, it should already make for a pretty exciting place. There we go. Yeah, we have the deck up here. We can probably add a few more little beams or pillars just as some additional details. Awesome. Yeah, I think that works. Gives us a bit of shape, space, etc. for building. Okay, I think we're gonna just make the railings for these staircases, and then that's probably enough. Although maybe starting a little bit of the mast might actually be a good call too. It's definitely a small-ish ship. but that's fine. Okay, let's see. I think we probably have one over there and one over here. We're just gonna raise these up a little bit for now. And they're still in the construction, so we don't have to completely finish them, but just giving the impression, I think, will definitely help. There we go. Yeah, I think that really is a nice thing to add to your port. And I guess you could go as far or as, like, you could keep it very basic. You could keep just the skeleton, but having it like half built like this definitely does add a bunch of character. And then, yeah, if you add all of those extra pieces, I'm out of copper, but yeah, you could definitely make this into something really cool. Of course, you'd want to have plenty of like little storage around, so probably want to go and decorate with things like this. And of course, all of the other little details we might add, like I think having a few of these cranes definitely wouldn't hurt. You know, like they're being used to get the goods up onto the ship, etc. There we go. Yeah, I think that makes for a lovely place. Then of course those, what was it, like the sawhorse is definitely one you want to add here. The workshop, of course you'll need that. That's going to be good details, but I think, you know, having a bunch of this around, and even the log benches, that's going to be pretty good, because it's quite easy to make this look like some spare logs they're using, I think. So that's definitely something I want to have around here and there, just to make it look like they're being used as part of the build. But with that, I think we've got a pretty nice build going. Obviously the eye catcher is the ship being built, but like if I now look at it from a distance, like the build itself is pretty simple, but having the ship in there being half built is quite nice. It definitely adds a lot to your little pirate town if you have something like this going on. Let's look at it from here, from the actual dock. Yeah, that looks really cool. Of course it's going to storm now, but I think that's a really nice addition. All right, there we go. That's how you build this dry dock in Windrose. I think it's a great addition to any pirate base, any pirate town, or any project that you're working on. It's a really nice way to add some more character and more life to your base projects, and I had a lot of fun working on this, and especially adding in all the little details to make it feel lived in, to make it feel like a proper workplace where you can build ships, has been a lot of fun. If you decided to build along, or you just used a little bit of inspiration for your own build projects, I hope this video was helpful to you. And as always, of course, if you enjoy seeing these types of videos and you want to continue to see more, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate all the support, and of course feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Goodbye.